The belief that witches can trouble the sea and raise the wind is widespread. It is part of the regular traffic of Finland witches to sell wind to mariners, as in the case of their Celtic sisters, tied in knots upon a thread. The first knot was called "Come Gently, Thig Gufoil," and when loosened, a gentle breeze sprang up. The second knot was called "Come Better, Tean Nas Fair," and on its being untied, the breeze came stiffer. The last knot was "Hardship, Cruaid Chars," and brought a wind to blow the hillocks out of their places and sent the thatch of the houses into the furrows of the ploughland. The usual way witches took to shipwreck a vessel was to put a small round dish floating in a milk pan placed on the floor full of water. They then began their incantations, and when the dish upset, the ship sank. On one occasion, 3 witches from Harris left home at night after placing the milk pan thus on the floor, in charge of a servant maid who was straitly enjoined not to let anything come near it. The girl's attention was, however, called away for a short time, and a duck came in and took to squattering about in the water on the floor. The witches, on their return in the morning, asked if anything had come near the milk pan. The girl said no, and one of them said,
"What a heavy sea we had last night coming round Cabag Head."
Ian Garvey, Stout John, Laird of Rassa, a man celebrated in Highland song and legend for his great personal strength, was drowned by a witch who had this mysterious power of raising storms. The event occurred on Easter Monday, in the great storm of the borrowing days, of which a contemporary historian says, "The like of this tempest was not seen in our time, nor the like of it heard in this country in any age preceding." The witch was Ian Garve's own foster mother, and resided on the islet of Trodder on the east of Skye. She overheard a friend of hers say he wished Ian Garve, who was known to have gone to the Lewis, was drowned, and took up seriously words spoken only in jest. Others say she was bribed by an enemy to effect the hero's destruction. He left Loch Sealgin Lewis to proceed home on a calm day. The witch was a dairymaid in Trodder, and seeing the boat coming, put milk in a large dish and a small empty dish floating in it. A boy was placed standing in the doorway, where he could see both the milk pan and Ian Garve's boat. She herself stood with her foot in the sway or chimney crook and began her unholy incantations. Soon the dish in the milk pail began to be violently agitated. The boy reported it first as going round sunwise, then as going round against the sun and striking the sides of the basin, and finally as being capsized and floating bottom upwards. The storm had been all this time increasing, till at last it blew a perfect hurricane. That night, the heap of shingle on east side, called Mull was washed ashore. Ian Garve's boat disappeared simultaneously with the capsizing of the bowl, and all on board perished. 3 ravens hovered about the boat as the storm was rising, and it became afterwards known that these 3 were Yellow Claws from Meilige on east side, Hump-backed Blue Eye from Craig near Portray, and Doiadag from Mull. When the boat was between Bearskerries and Trodder, 20 birds flew about, and some of them assumed the shape of frogs on the deck. All the witches in Scotland were there, but were unable to sink the boat till Ian Garvey said to the frogs,
"What the brindled one has brought you here?"
After that he became distracted from the number of birds and frogs coming upon him. A raven lighted on the gunwale of the boat, and Ian Garvey, striking at it with his sword, cleft the boat to the water's edge. The first news of the drowning was heard on Minigig Hill in Badenoch, and the particulars became known by the telling of other witches. Another account says the hero appeared that night to his wife in her dreams and said,
"On Monday the wind arose and gathered its fury and rage. Tell the mother of my body 'twas the evils made the hunt."
The shade came thrice and repeated this. Next day the wife told the dream to her mother-in-law, who exclaimed,
"Then my beloved is lost.